Okay, we are back, and first of all I want to say welcome back to the channel. Of course, it has been a few weeks since we've last been active on the channel. Last time it was the Luton game, obviously the match vlog went out, and we also did a fan review as well afterwards, so that's something we might start to try and sort of trial over the next couple of weeks, especially more for home games. You know, just some sort of post-match quick interview. Obviously I did it with Adam. I think we'll probably continue to do that at the home games. If anyone else is interested in doing a fan review post-match, do get in contact, of course, with the channel. You can do that through social media. The links are always in the description below. So if it's something you'd be interested in, if it's something that you're going to be interested in watching as well, let us know if you want us to keep doing those things, and hopefully we can do more of them, because I think it's always interesting to get the insight of a fan post-match. Of course, it can, maybe doing it immediately after game isn't always the best thing, but I do think you do get that raw immediate opinion, and I think that is sometimes good. And of course then we take a little bit of a time away, and a couple of days, and then we probably reflect on it a little bit differently, we calm down a little bit more, and then we probably look at it slightly differently and have a different opinion. But obviously I do think that fan opinion is really important. That is something we would like to try and do going forward. So if you did enjoy that fan review, let us know in the comments. If you want to see it happen again, great. If you don't want to see it happen again, also let me know as well, because it's all about opinion, and I'll take everything on board as well. But that is something we are looking to try and introduce over the next few months on the channel, on top of the previews, on top of the vlogs. So that is something that we are looking to do. So I want to get all your thoughts on that one. But yeah, we're back, obviously, preview time. The Stockport County versus Peterborough game, of course, Thursday night. Typically Thursday is a preview day, but with the game obviously taking place on Thursday, it would only be right to do it on Monday night. So of course, Peterborough United away from home Thursday night. County back in action, obviously facing Peterborough away. We went there back in, I think it was April. The Hatters, of course, remained top over the weekend in League One, despite Saturday's visit to, of course, Plough Lane against AFC Wimbledon being postponed due to international call-ups. We still managed to maintain that top spot, just about. We're hanging in there at the moment. But of course, County are looking for our first away win at Peterborough, because we didn't win there last time out. It would be our first win, should we win, our first away win at Peterborough since Tommy Rowe's 59th minute winner in April 2008. Of course, the Hatters did draw in the last meeting with the Posh back in April, but County's last win over Peterborough came at Edgeley Park last December in a 2-0 win. I think it was that Friday night just before Christmas, if my memory serves me correct. So now, of course, County come into this in strong form, despite, of course, a defeat in the last league fixture. Stockport's 3-0 defeat to Luton means it's meant that it's the first time that Stockport County have failed to score in a league game since our 1-0 defeat to Wrexham back in March. So it's a pretty decent record, to be fair, that scoring record for Stockport County, but it did come to an end, sadly, against Luton in that disappointing defeat. We'll get back to that, I'm sure, later on in this preview, but for now let's focus and turn our attentions to, of course, Peterborough United, currently 23rd in League One, just 4 wins from 14 so far this season in League One. Only Port Vale have won less in League One so far this season than the Posh, with just 3 league wins. However, there's quite a few teams who have also only won 4 as well, so it's not like Peterborough are the only teams who have only won 4 in League One so far this season, to be fair to them. But like I say, only Port Vale have won less in the league so far this season, and that was our last away game in the league, funnily enough. So yeah, the Posh have scored 15 and conceded 22 as well in the league so far. A poor start to the season as well has seen a change in the dugout recently, with 4-time Peterborough manager Darren Ferguson facing the sack. I wonder if he'll end up back in there for a 5th time, who knows. It seems like he's always in and around Peterborough's setup at some point. So obviously he did face the sack, after a poor run of former poor start to the season. Since then, they have made a new managerial appointment. In stepped the former Notts County and Swansea City manager Luke Williams. He's taken charge, overseeing 3 matches so far in his early reign as manager. So overseeing 3 matches, 3 separate competitions as well, while picking up 3 wins in all of those competitions along the way. Williams' side have swept away AFC Wimbledon in his only league match to date as manager so far, and that saw the Posh score 5 while keeping a clean sheet, just a 3rd clean sheet in the league this season actually for Peterborough. So a 5-0 win in your only league game so far, that is a huge turnaround, and that could be a potential concern for Stockport County, of course, with us visiting there on Thursday. But look, the way I would look at it, they have had a bad start to the season, there's no doubt about that. I think it was always going to be a tough a tough season, a season of struggle for Peterborough after the summer where they saw the likes of Ricky J. Jones, Kwame Poku and Malik Mothersill, of course, all move on. All three of those players hit double digits in League One last season. And they also contributed to 20 assists between the three of them as well. So that's a huge sort of attacking power in that setup. All sort of gone. I think Ricky J. Jones went to somewhere in the Bundesliga or maybe the Bundesliga second division. That was a free transfer. Kwame Poku, I think his contract went sort of expired. I think he moved on to the Championship. I can't remember. I think Birmingham were looking at him at one point. I'm not exactly sure where he ended up, but he certainly went a level up, I'm sure of that one. And of course, Malik Mothersill has joined Stockport County for around 2 million. So yeah, three big losses for them in the summer, and it looks like they haven't really managed to replace those players so far. Jimmy J. Morgan has come in on loan from Chelsea this season, and he's netted on 3 occasions in League One so far for the Posh. But the only problem with that is all 3 of those goals came in back-to-back games as he went through a bit of a purple patch in form in September. So he's not scored in the league since then, but I think he has scored in that last game, which was the EFL Trophy game. It might have been against Crewe or Crawley or someone like that. So, he's not scored in the league for some time. He's their top scorer in the league so far this season. And it doesn't seem like they've got a lot of firepower, which obviously was the opposite of what they had last season. They were a team that would score a lot of goals but also concede a lot. Now they seem to be still conceding a lot, but not really managing to have that guy that can contribute to a large amount of goals. So it is a concern, I suppose, if you're a Peterborough fan. And what I would say is, looking at it from sort of the outside looking in at Peterborough, I think they had an underwhelming season last season. Barring the EFL Trophy win over Birmingham, the actual league season was a far cry from the previous season, where I think they finished 4th in the 23-24 season. Then they finished, 18th last season. And it looks to me like a club, this is just from the outside, looking from the outside in, looks like a club that's on its way down. Obviously, to sort of 18th last season from 4th the season before. I don't think this season is going to really be any better for them as well. The only sort of glimpse of positivity that I think you could, sort of have looking at Peterborough is that they did win so convincingly in their first league game under the new manager, 5-0 win. Is that just new manager bounce though, or is it potentially a new manager with fresh ideas being brought to the table? And is that an early sign of a potential turning point, potentially Peterborough turning the corner? We'll have to see. But either way, hopefully they won't be turning the corner before Thursday. That's purely, of course, looking out from a Stockport County perspective. Now, of course, Stockport County, now our attention turns back, of course, to the Hatters. The away fixture to Wimbledon was, of course, postponed at the weekend due to international call-ups on AFC Wimbledon's side, which means it's been almost 2 weeks since County last competed in a League One game by the time we faced Peterborough on Thursday night. A rotated EFL Trophy meeting with Wigan played out last Tuesday in what can only be described as, I think, a rage of rain. It was unbelievable what we saw. I nearly went to the game as well, and I decided at the last minute to watch it on Sky instead. A sensible decision, some might say, because it was just awful conditions, and fair play to anyone that was there, and fair play to the people in charge of looking after the pitch, because they did a really brilliant job to get the game back on as well after what must have been 45 minute wait between when the game was stopped. So yeah, that was just a bit of a mess. But as I say, a rotated team as well, so there's not really too much you can take from that game. We did win it in the end. I think we drew, but we went through because of the point system, and then we had the most pointless penalty shootout ever, because Wigan would have got an extra point if they won the shootout, but they still would have not made it through anyway. So it seemed a little bit ridiculous anyway. But that's the EFL Trophy for you. So we drew, but actually won because we went through and we won the shootout anyway. So yeah. So other than that, we can't really learn too much from the EFL Trophy game. We can learn bits from the Luton game on the Saturday before that, and that was obviously a massive disappointment. Our last competitive fixture, proper competitive fixture, an absolute disaster, I think it's fair to say. That 3-0 defeat to Luton at home. And it came at a weird point as well, because we'd been in really good form pretty much since that sort of defeat to Plymouth. We'd gone unbeaten in the league, and we'd been starting to little by little making progress. Performances have still been not quite there. I sort of felt, even the Port Vale game, I thought, yeah, we did a job, we did what we had to do, but I still didn't feel fully convinced that we were performing to a level that we could outplay teams at the very top. But albeit it was still a lot of progress. Luton felt like a really a real step back. I know we had injury problems going into that game, and we had 3 or 4 which hit us pretty hard. And I think that Norwood missing, Ben Osborne missing. I think I mentioned it in the fan review as well at the end, that I think those 2 were the biggest losses going into that Luton game, just because of sheer experience, sheer sort of know-how of how to manage a game when you go a goal down. I think that those 2 have been really important for us, and to have lost both of them going into that game, obviously Ben Osborne injured at Tranmere, Ollie Norwood injured. The rumours that he was injured just the morning of the game against Luton, I completely jinxed it, because I think I said in the preview the night before, I did a live preview, I think I just said about going through the squad, I said Ollie Norwood, a player that's never really injured, and he wasn't last season, he hasn't been so far this season, but rumours are that he's going to be out for maybe just under 2 months, so that's going to hit us pretty hard. And I think that, obviously we've had a couple of weeks without County, it feels like now, but as we're getting closer to this game, it's starting to come back to me. Actually, we still have to deal with playing without Ollie Norwood. We still have to find a way to deal without playing without Ben Osborne as well, who's been superb down that left-hand side since he's come in. And of course, as well, the suspension to Owen Dodgson, who was, received 2 yellow cards and was sent off at Luton as well. I completely forgot about that when sort of planning my 11 for this game. So we're really going to struggle down that left-hand side, as we did, to be fair, even with Dodgson on the pitch against Luton, because he really struggled down that left-hand side. And what I thought was really strange about it was, when I look at County's formation so far this season, they typically play a back 3. But what we tend to see happen is Jack Diamond tends to sort of play behind the 2 strikers, but almost goes to the left at times as well. What we saw against Luton was it went back to a back 4, and he was actually playing more centre and then going to the right rather than the left. And I felt that Dodgson was really being exposed on that left-hand side throughout the game. And I think what you wanted to see was 1 or 2 things happen. You either wanted to see Jack Diamond come across over to the left-hand side to help him out, give him a bit of support going forward, or you wanted to see us go back to a back 3, bring on Joseph Olowu and try and help Dodgson through that way. Neither happened. Diamond remained on that right-hand side, and Olowu remained on the bench. And as we found out afterwards, it was because he had a little bit of a knock apparently, and with the injury crisis we currently find ourselves in, quite rightly the management team and Challoner decided they didn't really want to risk him, and he was only on that bench as a really sort of last resort. So and I think by that point the game was probably done, because we were 2-0 down at half time and we hadn't really showed anything other than we actually had some good chances initially in that game, but we didn't take them. And I think that's where Luton really capitalised. They smelt blood because they got that goal, probably against the run of play at the time, but once they got that goal, they were definitely the better team. And like I say, if they really wanted to go for us, they really could have won that game by 5 or 6 at the end, because we made it so easy for them defensively, and especially down that left-hand side. And that is going to be something that, to be fair, we are going to have to focus on and try and figure out a way to sort of perform better, a way to defend better, and a way that we can get a result against Peterborough, because although they've had a poor start to the season, if you're not fully at the races, you can get found out in this league, and we could find ourselves on the end of back-to-back league defeats if we're not careful. So as much as I'm confident going into this game, because I feel that Peterborough are in a really poor position, and I think that County have been on a really good run of form bar the Luton game, I still think we've got to be our absolute best, and hopefully we can do that. But yeah, like I say, I think there's bits we need to improve on from that Luton game. But look, I think the positive is we're still top of the table despite that result against Luton 2 weekends ago, it feels like. And then, of course, even though we didn't play last weekend, Lincoln weren't able to take top spot as well. So, I think at the moment we're in a really good position, even though there still feels like there's a lot to work on. What I would say as well, the Hatters, obviously County so far this season, scored 22 in the league, conceded 17, so we probably conceded and shipped in a few more than I would have liked to have conceded, and we've probably not quite taken our chances and scored as many as I think we could have done as well. So I still think whilst we're top, I still think there's a lot more that we can do better. I still don't think we've even really got out. I still think there's gears and levels that we can go up to in terms of our performance. I still don't think we've peaked yet this season. So I think it's really good that we've managed to be top of the table without really having to have played that well so far. I think that can only be a positive. It's what we do with it now. And like I say, nearly pretty much just gone past the quarter-way point in the season. we haven't performed brilliantly, and I think that time will come. I do think we'll hit a good sort of point in the season where we do start to perform. We've had a good run even without having to play really well. What I would say, I think, like I say, sort of quarter-way point, just past the quarter-way point, if I was to sort of say the best 5 players for us so far this season, I'd love to get your guys' opinion on this as well. I'm going to go through the 5 best players for us so far this season. I'm going to start with Ollie Norwood. I think he picks himself as number 1, our best player so far this season. And it's partly why we're going to miss him so much as well. His leadership, of course, his passing ability, his reading of the game for someone that is not getting any younger. In terms of getting about the pitch, he does really well because he reads the game ridiculously well, which means he doesn't have to necessarily have the legs to sort of around him. And if you put someone alongside him that's got legs, then I think you kind of hide that weakness of Ollie Norwood's game. So I think his reading of the game, his passing ability, obviously his leadership, and I think that lacked massively against Luton a couple of weeks ago. Obviously his set piece delivery as well speaks for itself, his ability to put a good ball into the box from a corner, his ability to score from free kicks, his ability from the penalty spot as well so far this season. His goals, his assists, 4 of each as well so far this season, 4 goals and 4 assists, and that puts him in one of the highest for goal involvements in League One already this season. So I'd say he's got to be the number 1 player for us so far this season. In second, our second best player of the season, I guess you could say so far. For me, I want to go with Ben Hinchliffe. I just think that he always seems to find his way back in goal. I think whenever that he's been challenged, whenever another keeper's come in and maybe initially taken his spot, he seems to always have that ability to behave the right way. His attitude is always, spot on. He deals with that very well, and he manages to find his way back in. And I think, look, as much as I wanted him to be backed, his performances, he was making errors that were costing us points, and I think that showed as well against Wigan, in the EFL Trophy last week. I don't want to go into it too much, but obviously it was a really poor mistake from him. He'll claim that he was fouled, but to be fair, to then palm it into your own goal as well, I just think that he doesn't help himself, and I think that's why Hinchliffe has been given the opportunity to go back in goal. And when he's been given that opportunity, you can't deny that the impact he's had since he's gone back in goal. 7 matches, I think, in the league, 4 clean sheets. I think we've only conceded a few goals in that time as well. So he's been really, really important for us, and that run of form that we went on, there's no coincidence he came back in goal, and we went on that really solid run. So yeah, I think for me, definitely up there with the top 5 so far this season. In third place, if we are going to sort of put it in like a category of 1 to 5, I suppose in third place I'd go with Cal Wootton. Look, I've not been his biggest fan at times. I have been very sceptical and very critical of him at times, but I think that he's come back this season, to be fair. I think he's looked fitter. I think he's looked like he's had more energy for the team. I think that, look, has he missed big chances still this season? Yeah, of course he has, and that has been frustrating at times, but I think that what he has done is he's getting in games more at times as well, and I also think that, yeah, he's missed chances, but if you look at his goal tally's up, I think, from this point last season. He's on 6 in the league already this season. I think he's definitely going to beat his tally of, I think, 11 last season in League One. I also want to say as well his relationship that he's built with his strike partners. So this season, County have switched to playing 2 up top as opposed to 1. And I think that his ability to work well with either Anderson or Nathan Lowe, whoever's coming alongside him, I think that Wootton's managed that really well because he has been used to playing as a lone striker, and I think he's really done well to manage to sort of try and strike up partnerships with those 2 attacking players alongside him. So I think he's been a lot better so far this season, and hopefully we'll see that continue. And like I say, I'm sure he'll smash his goal tally from last season in League One as well. In fourth, I've gone with Odin Bailey. I just think a player that probably seemed on his way out at times last season. In my head, I feel like he barely played last season. He actually played, I think, 34 league games last season. But he started just 8 of those games last season, which is as many as he's already started in League One so far this season. So he's really, like I say, a bit like Hinchliffe as well, with sort of been out the squad, been out the team, and had to show a lot of resilience. Had to maintain a good attitude in training to obviously, make sure that sort of when a player doesn't perform, he gets that opportunity. And he did get that opportunity against Cardiff, and he's not really looked back since. He's been in brilliant form. Obviously, a goal against Huddersfield as well, I think it was. He's just given us that ability to press as well in midfield. I think a bit more. He's obviously been able to offer. I spoke about Ollie Norwood as well, about legs around him. Bailey's given him, the legs around Norwood in midfield, which I think's helped. And I think he deserves real credit for sticking at it and showing what he can do when called upon. So I think he's been a really solid player for us so far this season, and like I say, hopefully that continues as well. Finally as well, I'm going to say Joseph Olowu. I could easily have gone with Callum Connolly on this one, to be fair, but I just think that Olowu, purely because he's come in as a sort of fresh signing in the summer, I think he's shown a lot of confidence early on. I think he's looked like he's got the potential to be a real captain. He's got captain material in my opinion. He's quick, he's strong, he's good in the air, he's brilliant in both boxes. And his composure on the ball as well, I think he's a real asset. And I think, just 25? I think he's 26 maybe in a couple of weeks. He's going to be going up a level in the next few years. There's no doubt about that in my opinion. So that would be the 5 best players for County so far this season in my opinion. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that one as well. Who would be in your top 5 County players so far this season? Now, in terms of squad, looking at going into the game against Peterborough, obviously, we have had a number of injury issues, which has been well documented, certainly ahead of the game against Luton a couple of weeks ago. Now, there was a really good tweet, which was put out actually by the Stockport War. They did a full breakdown on the injury situation post-match of the Luton game, and I've sort of looked into a little bit of that. Obviously, we're a couple of weeks on from that now as well. But in terms of squad going into Thursday, I think, there's players we're expecting to be back by probably early December. I think those players you like, sort of Teo Edon, of course, ex-Peterborough, Artur Hoskonen, Brad Hills, Ben Osborne, Tyler Onyango as well, and Ollie Norwood. Then we've got players that are probably capable of playing, but maybe not a full 90 minutes. That's Callum Connolly, Malik Mothersill, of course, and Jaden Fevrier. And then obviously we're not sure when Adrian Bailey's going to be back. He did pick up an injury against Luton, and I'm not entirely sure what that injury is and how long that will be yet. So if anyone knows, do let us know on that one. And then of course Lewis Bate, who we did hope would be back before Christmas, it's looking likely to be more like January, I think now. So that's the situation with that. And of course Owen Dodson is suspended as well. So that does give us a little bit of difficulty going into the game, because it's like, well, who's going to play left back? Now, this is the team sheet that I've gone with, the starting 11 I've gone with. Obviously, Ben Hinchliffe in goal. Like I say, we are sort of got a few injury problems as well. So I think that we're going to probably see a little bit of a change here. I think we're going to have to see Corey O'Keefe, who played and did score, to be fair, against Wigan, a really good goal, but I just don't think he'd get the same time to shoot like that in a real competitive League One game. I thought he did okay though in that game, to be fair to him. I think he'll probably switch from the right to the left, because he's capable of playing there as well. I think we'll see Fevrier coming as a right wing back. I do think it will be a back three with Ethan Pye, Connolly and Olowu. I don't think in the midfield it's going to be a huge shake-up. Owen Mox and Callum Camps as the 2 central midfielders. I'm really interested to see what happens with Corey Edwards as well. I think he's on loan from Rochdale. He was mainly on loan for the academy, but he's played in some of those EFL Trophy games. And with the huge injury crisis in midfield at the moment, he's not looked too bad in those games. It may well be a case where he gets the opportunity to sort of play some League One minutes, and that would be something I definitely wouldn't be opposed to seeing, because he has looked quite good in those minutes, and in those moments I have seen him play. But I think he'll go with Moxon and Camps to start with. Like I said, Camps cannot play a full 90 minutes as far as I'm aware of, so if he does start, there's a good chance that he'll have to be replaced by someone. And who knows, that could well be Corey Edwards, should he find himself a place on the bench on Thursday. Jack Diamond I've got just to play just behind the 2 strikers, of course, where I think it'll be Cal Wootton and, of course, Nathan Lowe, who has been in really strong form right up until, of course, that unfortunate penalty miss against Luton a couple of weeks ago, where Cal Wootton actually picked up the ball and handed it over to Nathan Lowe, which I thought was a strange decision, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure why Wootton decided to do that. I thought in that moment we're looking for an opportunity to get ourselves back in the game, and he's the most experienced player on the pitch probably. Really, as well, especially as a striker, I would have expected Cal Wootton to have picked up that ball and put the penalty away, but he handed it over to Nathan Lowe. He didn't look the most confident stepping up for it, in all fairness, and of course he did have his penalty saved. So a real potential turning point in the game. And I guess I wouldn't put too much blame at Wootton's door on that one. You could say it was good of him to pass the ball to another striker, but for me, really personally, in that moment in time, he's the most experienced player on the pitch. He's the main man. He's the main striker. He probably should have stepped up and taken that penalty, but he did give it to Lowe and he did miss the penalty. But before that, he had been in really good form. So hopefully we can see both of those two get on the score sheet in the next few games, and hopefully maybe we could see both of those involved on the score sheet against Peterborough on Thursday. I think both of them were both players were involved on the score sheet in our last away game against Port Vale, in the league. So who knows what can happen on that one? But of course, I look at going into this game. Like I say, I am confident that Stockport County should be looking to get the win. Peterborough, like I say, really, really poor start to the season. We did beat them at home last season. We couldn't beat them away last season, but I don't think they have the same sort of frightening front three that they did. Probably this time last season. So I think as much as we've got sort of defensive problems and maybe even problems in the midfield at the moment, I do think we should still be able to put a team together just about that should be able to get a result and hopefully a win. And as I say, it would be our first win since April 2008. Do I think that's going to happen? Of course I do. I am going to go for I'm going to say Stockport County win this. I want to say 3-1 because I think Peterborough can score a goal, but they seem to concede a lot more as well. So I think that hopefully 3 goals, maybe we don't keep that clean sheet, but I'm going to go with a 3-1 County win. So I want to get your thoughts, of course, in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like the video. If you have enjoyed it, do subscribe if you are new. And of course, we'll have the match the match vlog will be out at some point, probably Friday, of course, with the game being on Thursday. So like I say, hopefully you've all enjoyed it. Want to get your thoughts in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.